I thought I'd show you a game played a couple of days ago at the World Team Championships, which are taking place at Beersheba in Israel. And because Jonathan's also written a book on the Grunfeld, and like me is a bit of an aficionado of the Grunfeld defence, I chose a game that's in the very latest theoretical sort of twist in the exchange Grunfeld that was played in the game between Boris Gelfand white and Peter Spidler black. Now, Boris Gelfand, I think it's fair to say, is probably the world's leading expert on the white side of what has been christened the St. Petersburg variation. I'll show you how it goes. D4, knight F6, C4, G6, knight C3, D5, and that's the Grunfeld, of course. Knight F3, bishop G7, pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, E4, which is the exchange variation of the Grunfeld. Knight takes knight, pawn takes knight, C5. Black has to attack this D4 square to get counterplay. Now, in the good old days, white always used to put his bishop on C4 and his knight on E2. And then, sometime I think in the early 80s, someone had a funny idea of, well, why doesn't the knight go there? Maybe this pin isn't so bad after all. And then someone else had the bright idea of, oh, well, since this rook is a little bit vulnerable, why don't we put it on an open file? And amazingly, this line just sort of ripped the Grunfeld to pieces for about 10 years until people came up with ideas to fight it. And it's still very, very popular today. It's still the critical test in a way, in certain ways. So black castles, white goes bishop E2. And now, the crucial, critical line is to take on D4 and grab a pawn. Queen A5 check. Bishop D2, Queen D2 is possible, but it's not so dangerous. Queen takes A2. Castles. And now black plays, there are lots of moves that black can play here. A5 is one. Bishop G4 is the most popular move. What black says is, well, if you take my B7 pawn, I'll take your knight and I'll take your D pawn, which you spent the whole game trying to preserve, and you won't have any advantage. So white responds to that by defending it. Black responds by attacking it again, and white says, go away. Black says, well, alright, I'm a pawn off, I can put up with that. And rook A1 doesn't win the knight because the bishop's diagonal is now wide open. So if you look at this position, you can see that white's got certain compensation for the pawn, he's got the centre, he's got a little bit more development, and he hopes one day that the black queen won't be very clever. And the game basically runs along these lines. Bishop G5 was played next. Now, if black plays a simple move like rook E8 defending the pawn, bishop B5 will attack the rook. If black plays something like E6, then it's possible that white might be able to play D6 or do something more unpleasant. So there's only been a few games in this line, and most of them have gone this move, which is trying to get the queen out of danger and defending the pawn. So white played here, because white is basically trying to organise pawn to E5 in this position to make this piece a very bad piece, and then possibly to go pawn D6 and make a queen. That's what white's trying to organise amongst other things. So rook E1 is a logical move. Now, in previous games, black had taken action to prevent this very directly by going bishop takes knight, bishop takes bishop, bishop E5, blockading. But I'm not sure if that's particularly good. Spidler, who was black, who is actually from St. Petersburg, Gelfand's originally from Minsk, decided to play this move, which he'd obviously prepared at home. And of course Spidler's been preparing a lot of moves at home because he's just taken part in the FIDE World Championship where he did particularly well. So Gelfand carried on with his plan, and Spidler put the question to the bishop. Now, we don't have time to go into it in too much detail, but I think in this position the best move was probably bishop C1, attacking the queen. And it's all very, very complicated, and in the lines that I've looked at, the black queen ends up on A1, and it's very confused. What Gelfand did was he put his bishop here, which is very logical. It supports the E5 pawn. The trouble is, just occasionally, it's on freeze to the queen in some positions. Although this, of course, is very hard to foresee. Similarly, this move is also quite hard to foresee, since black had put it there with the bishop there with the aim of taking the knight. Rook C1, And now, very annoying move. The last thing that white wants to do is swap the queens. He's pawn down, unless there's a very good reason for it. So he went d6. I think he realised things had gone wrong. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Queen takes d1. Rook e takes d1. And in this position, both sides have got all their pieces out, and although this looks quite good, white can't really do very much, and he's just a pawn down. So I'll run you through the rest of the moves very quickly. Bishop b5, bishop d7 defending, bishop e3, and now black played a very logical move. He developed his rook on a8 in this position. And when I say developed his rook on a8, I don't mean he moved it from his original square. He made good use of it. Bishop b6, rook e8, rook c4 trying to blockade the pawn, and now a lovely move, knight b8, breaking the blockade. And now I think that white in top level chess basically doesn't have any chance, I think. Bishop a4, takes, knight comes back, and it's doing a beautiful job. It's blockading the pawn and it's freeing this one. b6. Black couldn't take with the bishop, by the way, because b6 would have won a bishop. King f1, f5. That's a very clever move. It gives this square for the rook and lets the king in. Rook b1, rook e4. Rook a2, black doesn't want to swap, black takes another rook par. And now Gelfand blundered. There's a rather clever tactic coming up now. Rook b8. Now there's a very nasty pin there, but Gelfand thought that he could get out of the pin with a gain of a tempo to defend his rook. But in this position, he resigned. Because if he takes the rook, black takes the rook with check and is a piece up. If he takes that rook, black can play check, little intermezzo. Rook takes the rook, check, king e2, and knight takes pawn, and black's a piece up. Right, now we're all warmed up.